Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about additive and multiplicative relationships, but this time we're going to be using graphs, okay? So we have a graph here and we need to decide whether it's additive or multiplicative. Now, the easiest way for you to figure out whether this is an additive or multiplicative relationship is to look at the origin, okay? So this is the origin where we have 0, 0, okay? Now, if your graph starts at the origin like this one does, and if you notice, I'm able to create a line going through the origin like so. Okay. So I was able to create my line going through the origin like so, then that means that it's multiplicative, okay? Because when I multiply anything times 0, then I always get 0, okay? So if I write my table, remember this is my input and my output. So the first input is 0, and that means that 0 times 0 is 0. Okay, now here's the first one. I have 1 and I go up, and that's going to be 2. Then I have 2 and I go up, and that's going to be 4. 2 to 4. Then I have 3 and I go up, and I have 6. Okay, then I have 4 and I go up, and I have 8. Okay, so if I use the same process, I know I'm multiplying, so I would have y equals, what am I multiplying each time? 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm multiplying 2 times every single point. That's my rule, okay? My equation would be y equals 2x. That's why it's multiplicative. I'm able to multiply each one, and I get my output, which is my y. So if I want to circle the reason, letter A says because each x is multiplied by 2. That's correct. That's what we were doing. We were multiplying by 2. Okay. Letter B says it's increase. Increase means add. Okay. So we weren't adding 2. We were multiplying 2. Okay. Let's try another one. All right. So again, we're going to look at the origin, which is 0, 0. Okay, and again we're going to draw our line here. So if you notice this time, the line doesn't start at the origin, okay? So it doesn't start at the origin, which means it's going to be additive, okay? So let's write down x and y. So at 0, we were at 2. Then at 1, we were at 3. Then at 2, we were at 4. And at 3, we were at 5. Okay, so if you notice, what am I doing each time? Y equals x plus, this time I am adding 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 2 is 4. 3 plus 2 is 5. 0 plus 2 is 2. So I'm adding, the rule is adding 2 each time. That's the pattern, okay? So let's look at our reasons. Here it says multiply. We are not multiplying, so we can cross that out. Again, this says increased. So this means add by 2. That is correct, okay? Here it says the x is greater than the y. That is not correct. The x are actually smaller than the y, okay? Let's do the third problem, okay? So again, always, always, always look at the origin, and then we're going to draw our line. Okay, so we have that one, and then we have this one. Okay, so if you notice, graph number 1 starts at the origin, which that means it's multiplicative. Graph number 2 does not start at the origin, so that means it's additive, okay? So I know that I'm going to be multiplying by something here and adding something here. So let's look at our choices. Letter A says both graphs are additive. That is not correct. Letter B says both graphs are multiplicative. That is not correct. Letter C says graph number 1 is additive. Graph number 1 is not additive. It's actually multiplicative. Graph number 2 is multiplicative. Nope. Graph number 2 is additive. So we're going to cross that out. Let's look at letter D. Graph number 1 is multiplicative. Yes. And graph number 2 is additive. Yes. So this is correct. Okay. Last one that we have here. Again, very important for you to look at the origin. 0, 0. Okay, again, draw the line. Now this one is a little bit tricky because if you notice, this is very close to the origin, but it's not exactly starting right at 0. It must start right at 0. So this is going to be additive, and this one does start right at 0. If you notice, there is a point right there, so this is multiplicative, okay? So now let's look at our answer choices. Both graphs are additive. That is not correct. Both graphs are multiplicative. That is not correct. Letter C, graph number 1 is additive. That is true. Graph number 2 is multiplicative. That is true as well. So letter C will be correct, okay? Very important. Always look at the origin, and that will help you immensely.